Last time in writing, you were working on coming up with your thesis statement and your three ideas to go with it. And I was thinking about that, and I felt like that I needed to improve mine. Mine was kind of complicated, and I felt like it wasn't really what I wanted to do. And since today's the day I have to actually make a decision, I thought maybe we should go through some practice ones just to make sure that you've landed on a thesis statement and ideas that will actually get you to a place where you can write an appropriate essay for this unit. So here are some examples. One example of a thesis statement is Mars would be a fun place to live. Here's the thing. Listen to what that says. It says it'd be a fun place to live. Does that sound like fiction or nonfiction to you? Does that sound like fact or opinion to you? Where does this fall? To me, saying that something is fun, that's an opinion. And your thesis statement shouldn't have just an opinion like that. There's not a way for you to find evidence to support that because you can't really find evidence to support an opinion for a factual essay. So that kind of thesis statement won't work. So take a look at yours and see if yours is an opinion. The next one is, my mom is my best friend. And that thesis statement is an okay thesis statement. But let's take a look at the reasons and pieces of details underneath it. Because she is a good cook, because she dresses well, because she works hard at her job. And while those all three things might all be true, they actually don't have anything to do with her being a best friend. Does her working at her job mean that she's a good friend to you? Does the way that she dresses have any impact on how she's your friend? And maybe a good cook, I can kind of see that one. But really, these reasons don't go with the thesis. They don't support it. All right. So let's take a look. Same thesis statement. My mom is my best friend. Now she buys me things because she buys me things. Now that I'm older, when I am at home. I understand what this person is saying, that she's my best friend because she buys me things. But then, my mom is my best friend now that I'm older. That's not really a detail to support being the best friend. Notice how we've started, we talked about this yesterday, it starts with because. Even if I just added the word because I'm older, that's not really enough. If I wanted to fix this one, I would have to say something like, because we have things in common, maybe. And this next one, when I am at home, I'm not really sure what that means, but it doesn't go with how we've been writing it. They all three need to start in the same way. So check your thesis statement. Okay, does your thesis statement have details that go with it? And do those details start in the same way? Are they all causes of that thesis statement? Another set is because she is fun, because I have a good time with her, and because she listens to me. And those are good details, and they might even be true, but take a look at this. All three of these things are pretty much saying the same thing about her. I have a good time with her because she's fun. I have a good time with her because she listens to me. So what you really need to do, guys, this is the one I'm most concerned about, since I'm not really looking at your thesis statements the way I would normally look at them, is that you need to make sure that your pieces of details down below aren't pretty much the same thing said in a different way. You have to say different things. Let's take a look at another thesis statement. My dad is my friend and mentor. And the problem with this one is that there are two statements here. It's too complicated. I talk about how he's my friend, and I talk about how he's my mentor, and I'm going to need separate evidence. So it requires separate evidence. And I think that's where I went wrong on mine. I think I made mine too complicated so that the evidence, I have to have a lot more evidence and details to go with it. The last one I want to look at is my grandmother is old. Okay. That's not mean. Age is a fact of life. So if you're giggling, that's okay. What's wrong with this one, though, is that this is a fact. If my grandmother is 96 years old, she's old. That's not a thesis statement. You can't just say a fact and move on, because then you're just listing other facts. So you need to have something that makes sense to you. So the next thing I want to do is look at some good thesis statements. So those were some examples of some thesis statements and ideas to go with them that didn't really work out. Let's take a look at the next 3 examples that are good. The first one is, my mom is my best friend when she buys me things, when she plays games with me, when she listens to me. And you notice they all start with the word when, because they're all trying to say that those are times when my mom is my best friend. They don't overlap in any way. They don't say the same thing over and over. Take a look at the next example. It's hard for young girls to be tall. It's hard for young girls to be tall because you get teased, because it's hard to find pants that fit, because you develop a poor body image. So for this person, they decided to give reasons. It's hard for girls to be tall, and they started their reasons with because, and these are all things that they could elaborate on later. So these are ideas that they think go along with why it's hard to be tall for a young girl. The last example is that New York is the best place to raise a dog. Now, you might be saying, Ms. F, this is an opinion. Well, it is an opinion, but let's take a look at the facts underneath. Because there are lots of places to run around, because there are other dogs they can play with, because it helps you meet new people. All of those things are true. Okay? So when you're thinking about your thesis, I want you to look at it and ask yourself if it meets the qualities that we've talked about over the last 2 days. If you're having a hard time coming up with your own statement and reasons, try changing some of these around to make it suit what you're doing. Maybe write about your best friend. Maybe write about Indianapolis or your neighborhood. Maybe write about something that you think is hard. All right, so I want you to think about these things. Today, your assignment is to send me in the submit text box. I want you to send me what is your new thesis statement and your ideas that go with it. Okay, so that's what I'd like for you to do.